Good day. Today, Wednesday, September 14th, 2022. Chief of the world's Southeast Asian global areas open to Putin's pivot. Only Singapore has imposed sanctions, at the same time as others have been receptive to Moscow's affords of friendship. The head of Myanmar's military junta beamed with pleasure as he shook palms with Vladimir Putin this week. We would identify you no longer clearly the chief of Russia, but a chief of the world due to the reality you manipulate, and organize stability round the complete world, Min Aung Hlaing said. His remarks were obtained right here as Putin claimed in a defiant speech that European efforts to isolate Russia would fail. Instead, he would pivot to Asia. Myanmar's military, which has moreover confronted a sequence of sanctions with the aid of the use of Western international locations in the aftermath of the closing year's coup, has been especially receptive to such affords of friendship. Russian planes have given the Navy a deviated advantage as it battles to manage safety from its standard, says Tracker Marston, a scientist and professional at the Australian Public College in Canberra. He says this is one of the complete things enabling them to retain decrease lower back the PDF's People's Defence Forces, fashioned in opposition to the coup. Otherwise, they would be struggling with greater losses than they already are. Airstrikes have bombarded populated areas, in accordance with the UN's Human Rights Office. Myanmar plans to import Russian gas and fuel, and has signed a roadmap for cooperation on nuclear power with the Russian state-owned nuclear corporation, Rosatom. Energy collaboration can likewise improve further, says Marston. Russia has misplaced an element of its penetrating website seaward in Vietnam due to the fact of Chinese tension. He says, along with that, it is possible Moscow ought to likewise show up to Myanmar for investigation, after groups alongside Complete have eliminated from the country. Across Southeast Asia, responses to Russia's hostilities in Ukraine vary. On the other hand, it is in general regarded as a regional hostility in Europe, says Frederick Kleem, a Search Fellow and lecturer at the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies in Singapore. Countries in Southeast Asia, and actually many worldwide areas around the world, are no longer purchasing into the idea that this is a sea change in international family members, and that Russia is the enemy, Kleem says. They say, look, if there are lower-priced oil and lower-priced gasoline and great trade presents to be made with Russia at this thing in time, then, of course, we are going to do it, and who are you to inform us now no longer too? Many elements out that Russia does now not have a monopoly on breaching world law, he adds. Only Singapore has imposed sanctions on Russia, a determination perchance pushed with the aid of way of its view that international law helps smaller states, and that it desires to take a constant stance in assist of this, says Chong Jia-Ian, an associate professor of political science at the National University of Singapore. Singapore's feature as a financial hub and a belief that it needs to be especially cautious about secondary sanctions can additionally, moreover, have been a factor, he adds. Arms profits have traditionally been Russia's strongest go properly within Southeast Asia, says Kleem. However, there is a focal factor on electrical energy, as countries eye much less high-priced affords to protect consumers. Indonesia's state-owned oil and gasoline corporation Pertamina is in talks to purchase crude oil from Russia at under the market rate. Countries in the neighborhood are honestly worried about inflation, particularly growing electrical energy and meal prices, Chong says. These are areas in which Russia can additionally be in function to furnish some assistance, even though these governments are likely to be cautious about secondary sanctions too. The fact that Russian monetary corporations are restricted from the utilization of the SWIFT gadget would possibly additionally complicate transactions with Russia, however. Such snags have impacted exchange. Tam Sang-Hyun, a speaker at Ho Chi Minh City College of Sociologies and Humanities, expresses that brushing off inspecting Russia's search for extra lifelike binds with Vietnam, there have been no huge turns of events. Vietnam's exports to Russia have been hampered through the ongoing war, with logistics and repayments being impacted, he says. Meanwhile, U.S. agencies have shifted manufacturing to Vietnam, with Apple suppliers in talks to set up a manufacturing line in the United States for the first time, he adds. Vietnam has sought to maintain away from taking sides in the war, to try to stabilize participants of the household with every power. It has relied intently on Russia for crude oil and gas, and Navy equipment, however, is looking to diversify on the latter, Hyun says. In a neighborhood dominated by the aid of opposition between China and the U.S., Russia is viewed by means the use some to be a helpful balancer, says Kleem, even if its impact is smaller. Trade provided with Russia would possibly additionally be welcomed by way of leaders in the place who are conscious that Moscow, no longer like others, will no longer impose sanctions in response to concerns over authoritarianism or different rights issues. Thailand added in May that it would enhance bilateral alternate with Russia with the intention of achieving $10 billion a year, as Moscow seems to buy a larger Thai rice, fruit, cars, and car parts, as proper as making investments in technology. Thais have been invited to make investments in Russia's ingredients industry, it was once as soon as reported. But these efforts are no longer at all associated with Russia's losses elsewhere, says Klim. He says it is viable, that it is diplomatic recognition that Putin is seeking, alternatively of compensating for monetary losses. We have a small preference to ask. Millions are turning to The Guardian for open, independent exceptional data every and each day, and readers in 180 worldwide areas around the world now assist us financially. We take delivery of as real with all, and sundry deserves to get proper entry to data that are grounded in science and truth, and comparison rooted in authority and integrity. That's why we made a one-of-a-kind choice. To hold our reporting open for all readers, regardless of the area they continue to be in, or what they can discover the cash for to pay. This capability increased human beings can be greater informed, united, and motivation to take massive action. In these perilous times, a truth-seeking global statistics corporation like The Guardian is essential. We have no shareholders or billionaire owners, which potential our journalism is free from enterprise and political impact. This makes us different. When it's by means of no ability been large or important, our independence lets us fearlessly investigate, mission, and expose these in power. Thanks for watching and subscribing to the channel.